Bart Palaszewski. Are you still with Team Curran, right?
Yeah, I'm back home. I did a stint in New Mexico out there for my last fight, but got another little baby on the way, so can't bail out on the pregnant wife, so I had to stay home.
You could bail out, but I don't find it advisable.
Well, I could, but then I wouldn't be able to come back.
Exactly. It makes for a very poor fight. No matter how much you win in your purse, it's all going to go away to having to get a new house, and a new attorney, a new car. Yeah, yeah. So it's better to be home.
Yeah.
That's good.
Child support.
Exactly. I know that's 50% of your purse every time you go out. So
It's the lose-lose.
exactly. You get ready to fight here April 13th against Cole Miller. It's a tough finale, right? It's at the Hard Rock Casino in Las Vegas. It's a pretty stacked card. Like it's getting to become a pretty big named card for a TUF show. Do you think the UFC is really trying to revitalize the TUF franchise under its own to make it a bigger deal, so that a lot of these stars like yourself and Jorgensen, Uriah Faber, and those guys are on the card to make it jump up bigger? Or do you think this just happened to be that because there's so many fighters to fight, this just happens to be the cycle that they have you on right now?
I don't think they need to I can't even say it.
Revitalize.
Yeah, revitalize.
I'm not gonna lie, Bart. I've been practicing for 20 minutes before I called you to get that word out right. So don't worry about it.
ESL, man. English is my second language, so that's my excuse. No, I mean, I think they need. I think it's a big show, but I think the TUF finales are smaller shows compared to full-blown UFCs, and those shows are needed for guys like myself coming off a couple of losses where I don't belong on the big show, but they don't want to get rid of me yet. You know what I mean? So I think those smaller shows are necessary, and I believe it got moved actually from Hard Rock to Mandalay.
Oh, it did get. You're right. It did get moved to Mandalay. You're right. I apologize. On some of the websites, they haven't updated the venue site, but it is at Mandalay, which is a bigger venue and it's a bigger spot. The Joint at the Hard Rock doesn't see as many people. Mandalay sees 12,000. They're making it a full show as far as viewership goes. Instead of having the 1,500 or 3,000 seat arena they normally do on TUF, it's a 12,000 seat arena. It's a big deal. Like the TUF show, the TUF finale is a big deal now. So I'm wondering. I think they're trying to put more. I personally think they're trying to make it a bigger deal. They're trying to make a lot more people understand that you guys, just because you're on a TUF show doesn't mean you shouldn't be on pay-per-view. It's just there's so many fighters, they can't have everyone on pay-per-view all the time. They've got to spread you out a little bit. So they're kind of doing that spacing a little bit more.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure that too. They got they're making some strict cuts right now. So they do have a lot of fighters. They do got to have a lot of shows. And again, there's guys that don't, they got to earn their spot on the big show. And there's guys that, like I said, they don't want to get rid of yet. They see potential in us, but coming off 2 losses, I'm not going to be on the main card of a big show.
Let's talk about those 2 losses. The 2 decision losses. It wasn't like you went out there and got knocked out. You didn't get caught. You went the distance and you lost a decision. What do you think was the problem during those 2 fights that cost you to lose?
With Hioki, I'm not even going to beat around the bush. I underestimated him. I saw his fight against Roop, and I guess I underestimated Roop. I didn't give him enough credit. Sorry, I got to power up here. My phone's dying.
No problem.
So I took that fight as kind of the fight to look at, and, I really underestimated him, and, he worked me over. With Diego, I got clipped, man. The very first punch he clipped me with, I was out on my feet. Actually, after the 3rd round, I went back to my corner. I was, because he threw his hands up, and I'm like, what the hell's going on? We got one more to go.
Yeah.
We got one more round, and then the fight was over, and I was like, whatever. And everybody's like, man, you had him in the 3rd. I'm like, that wasn't the 3rd, man. I had him hurt in the 2nd. They go, no, that was 3rd. I'm like, nah. And like few people said it, so I was like, is everybody wrong, or was I out on my feet? And then I watched the fight, man, and 2nd round doesn't even exist to me. So he landed a good punch. He came out with a good strategy, just gun blazing, and you go into a firefight, somebody's gonna get shot, and that night I got shot.
Yeah, no, yep. And now what happened? Have you fixed? You got caught with that first one. Were you just not ready to go when he first came out at you? Were you not prepared, or what was there something going on at training camp that caused it?
It was just a good punch. He landed a good punch. I overswung. He threw at the right time and just clipped me at the right time, right place, and that's all it takes is one punch.
And that's what I've always liked about you. If you've noticed, and ladies and gentlemen, go back and look at the interview earlier. He never made an excuse for anything that happened. I underestimated him and I got beat. I got clipped early and I lost. He doesn't go, oh, it was my camp, it was my corner, it was, the time change, the food. Bart, you've always been that way. You never make an excuse for losing or for winning. It's just what happens, and you just it's all my fault. It was all on me. My coaching staff supported me. My wife supports me. My kids support me. I just lost or I just won. You never make a big deal about it. Is that something that you were trained to do, or is that just how you are personality-wise?
It's just how I am, man. It's, I can't sit here and make excuses, but it's what it comes down to. I can tell you one thing, but then when we get off here, I'm going to be like, well, it wasn't their fault. It wasn't that. It was strictly me. I got hit with the punch. I was the one in the cage. I'm the one controlling the pace. I'm the one, training. My coaching staff is telling me what to do, but if I don't, I either follow or don't follow their, advice. And once I'm in the cage, you're on your own. They can tell you, they can give you the outside the box perspective, but it's on you to, to execute. And bottom line, if you don't execute, 100%. And sometimes guys are just better than you. Kiyoki had a great plan, took me down, worked me over on the ground.
Yeah, it was
whatever
good.
It was, he's a better fighter.
He had a really good game plan for you. He really knew what he was doing and what was going to happen, and he game planned for you very well. And like you said, you underestimated him, so you didn't step up that extra 10% in training, and you lost the decision. Now let's get on to Cole Miller, who you're going to fight next year on April 13th. What do you think what does he bring to the table? What do you see when you watch his tapes?
I think I got to be careful. The same fight I had with Kiyoki with him, since they're very similarly built. I think that, he's got dangerous ground. He's got that long body, to the trips and, that kind of wrestling, the more of the upper body wrestling. His reach, obviously, for striking. And, can't really put one thing that he's great at. I guess he's good at everything. Just like everybody else in the UFC. That's why they're in the UFC. They're good at everything. But if I had to say, I'm sure, if one thing that he's really good at is, I'm sure, is jiu-jitsu. He comes with a really great background, really strong camp. Training for triathlons, I'm sure he's very well conditioned. So, just got to prepare all the way around. I got a game plan in mind, more or less. We'll see if I execute it right, and go from there.
Now, you said that he's not great at any one thing. He's very well-rounded. Do you find from an athletic standpoint, do you find a well-rounded opponent more dangerous, or the guy that's kind of a super in one area but kind of knows the other areas as well? Like a Mark Hunt, he's very good on his feet, but he kind of knows the ground enough to get back up to his feet, and he seems to knock guys out all the time. But then you've got like a Cole Miller who's very well-rounded. He tends to catch in a couple different ways. For you as a competitor, which one do you find more difficult to prepare for?
They're well-rounded guys. It's much harder to prepare for a well-rounded guy. I'm not saying that he's not great at anything.
I understand. I totally understand.
I mean that he's you can say he's great at everything. That's, I'm not trying to come off as a dick in any way, but the well-rounded guys are much more hard to get prepared for just because they're well-rounded. You don't have to, guys like Hunt or guys like, Chael per se, got, obviously his wrestling is phenomenal, but as long as you can stop the wrestling, you should be all right on your feet with him.
Mm-hmm. Right.
I mean, his hands are good. I'm not trying to cut him down, but, 90% of his game plans, he gets you down, you're going to lose that round. So,
right.
Well-rounded guys, you got to be ready for everything. You got to be ready to get taken down or submitted or knocked out. So, can't get comfortable anywhere.
Now, you're still up there training Team Curran, and Team Curran seems to be having a little bit of a win streak going on here. They're Felice Herring's beating people up now in Bellator. She's improved tremendously over the last 3-4 fights. There's a lot of other guys who are stepping up their game within the Team Curran camp. How difficult is it now, the practices? Like, it seemed to be a couple years ago, guys would go to Team Curran, and it kind of got their own way. They kind of do what they wanted because there wasn't that big conglomerate of really good competitors. Now it seems like all you guys have accelerated at the same time. How tough are the practices becoming inside Team Curran?
Oh, it sucks, man. There's certain days that I dread for sure. There's some young blood here that is just You know, guys like Pat Kern, even being super young, you know, he's rock and roll in Bellator. He's the champ, and
Yeah.
you know, he's one of my main training partners, and it just sucks. You know, just I avoid him at all costs.
Yeah.
Because, well, yeah, it just demoralizes me all the way around. Wrestling, grappling, striking. I mean, he just beats me up. Bottom line.
Does
You
that?
know, when a few years back when he was a kid, I kind of worked him over. I think it's payback time. And you know, there's other guys. Charlie Rackey's another kid from our gym. He's, you know, he can't find fights on the lower level. You know, he's 1-0 as a pro only, but then in amateur, he just worked everybody over to a point that nobody wants to fight him now. So, you know, there's guys that really, you know, really put up a good fight, and you know, they're great training. It's a fight, man. Every training session is a fight here.
Beautiful. That's great. Well, Bart, thanks for coming out here with MMA Oddsbreaker. Good luck against Cole, April 13th out there at Mandalay Bay Event Center in Las Vegas. I'm really interested to see that one. I think I'm actually going to be in-house live for that one. Obviously, Vegas is my home, so if I can get a ticket, I'll be in that live. I'm really interested to see how this card pulls off, and I'm really paying attention to your fight because I know you never make an excuse, but I also know that you feel like your back's against the wall with the UFC making so many cuts, and you don't want to lose that paycheck. So I see you coming out a little bit more vicious, a little bit smarter, and a little bit more prepared than you have your last two fights, just so you can keep